Thank you for joining the technical workshop for the Spark Fund. If I go ahead and invite Patri to go through the interpretation instructions, we'll get started very soon.
Buenas, bienvenidos al el webinario técnico, el taller técnico para el Fondo Spark. Vamos a comenzar con unas instrucciones de cómo activar la interpretación al español. Pronto, cuando termine de hablar, al fondo de la pantalla va a haber un icono de un globo terráqueo. Cuando le hagan clic a ese icono del globo terráqueo, pueden elegir el español si desean escuchar el taller en español. Si se encuentran en un teléfono inteligente, pueden dar en la parte superior, hacerle clic a la sección que dice más con los 3 puntos suspensivos. Ahí va a salir un menú que va a decir interpretación de idiomas y puede también ahí escoger el lenguaje que desea. Cuando esté en un teléfono inteligente o en una tableta, no olvide darle clic al botón de listo para que se active. Si le da para atrás sin darle listo, no se va a activar. Welcome everyone. This webinar will have a simultaneous interpretation in Spanish. In case there are any questions that are read in Spanish, you may go at the bottom of your screen. It will soon be activated. There will be a globe icon. The globe icon will prompt a short menu and you may pick English there in order to listen to simultaneous interpretation from Spanish to English if questions or comments in Spanish are made. Thank you very much. I will also post these questions in the chat briefly.
Thank you, Patri. I'm going to go ahead and open now the language interpretation. And Mishan, go ahead. It's all yours.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to Firelight Media's technical workshop for the Spark Fund. I'm Michelle Boston, the project manager for the Spark Fund. Today, you will receive an overview of the Spark Fund, eligibility requirements, and get an opportunity to ask questions about the Spark Fund afterwards. Just a reminder that today's webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on Firelight Media's YouTube channel. As you just heard, we have live Spanish interpretation for this webinar and also closed captions. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see icons to access those features. So let us begin. We will start today's webinar with a land acknowledgement. So let's go to the next slide, please. I'm speaking to you from Washington, DC. Washington, DC is in what we call the District, Maryland, and Virginia region, or DMV. We are also in the region of 3 rivers, the Chesapeake, Potomac, and Anacostia. I recognize the diverse and vibrant Native communities who made their homes along those 3 rivers and continue to make their homes here today. I acknowledge the Native American communities that were here before us, are here with us now, and will continue to be with us as we look forward to the future. For my region, I call the names of the Native communities, though there are many unknown, who lived among the 3 rivers I just mentioned. They include the Nacotchtank, the Dogue Toxinant, the Pamunkey, and Piscataway tribes. If you know the names of the ancestral Native communities where you are now, take this time to acknowledge them in the chat. Thank you. So we will go to our agenda for today in the next slide. We've had our welcome and land acknowledgement. I will give you an overview of the Spark Fund, the timeline for the Spark Fund from application to the selection of the Spark Fellows, who can apply, the eligibility requirements. I also want to talk about what are the humanities, because that's often a question that comes up for projects that are based in humanities subjects. Also, the selection process for Spark Fellows, and then we will take your questions. Next slide. So this is the overview. Next slide. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, meaning us Firelight Media, if this is the first webinar you've attended, presented by Firelight Media, let me tell you what Firelight Media is. Firelight Media is the premier destination for nonfiction cinema by and about communities of color. Co-founded by filmmakers Stanley Nelson and Marcia Smith, Firelight Media produces documentary films, supports filmmakers of color, and cultivates audiences for their work. And you can find out more on firelightmedia.tv, the website. Thank you. About the Spark Fund. The Spark Fund is a new initiative. It offers support to established independent documentary filmmakers who self-identify as Black, Indigenous, and/or people of color, what we call BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C acronym. They are working on humanities themed projects that were disrupted by the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Spark Fund offers 36 stipends of $50,000 over the period of 1 year. Spark Fund is underwritten by the National Endowment for the Humanities, or NEH, through their Sustaining the Humanities through the American Rescue Plan, known as #SHARP. And that is a grant-making initiative that is funded by the American Rescue Plan, the National American Rescue Plan. Next slide. So here is the timeline for the Spark Fund from Firelight Media. Our application is currently open. It will be open through December 29, 2021 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can access the application through the landing page from the link that you see on the slide. There's a button that says Apply Now. You can also go directly to the application through the second link, which is hosted on the Submittable website platform. We also have a Spanish language application, and the direct link is there in the slide. You are currently in the first of 2 technical assistance webinars. Today is November 8th, and the second will be December 6th. After the application closes, there will be a staff review for eligibility only. That means to make sure the application was filled out correctly and meets all the eligibility requirements. That will be a 2-week process. Afterwards, there will be a selection committee review in February 2022. There will be 2. One will be readers, and the second will be to select the Spark Fund Fellows from the finalists. The Spark Fund Fellows who are selected will be notified, and all persons will be notified of their status in March 2022, and the grant period begins April 1, 2022. Next slide. So let's talk about eligibility. Who can apply to the Spark Fund? The Spark Fund is for mid-career documentary directors or director producers. Keyword is director. Directors who are self-identify as Black, Indigenous, or persons of color. Applicants must be US citizens or have resided in the US for a minimum of 3 years prior to December 29, 2021. This is a National Endowment for the Humanities requirement for all of the projects they fund. Applicants must have directed at least one of the following: one documentary feature more than 40 minutes in length, or two or more broadcast cable documentary episodes over 30 minutes in length, and or 3 or more documentary short films, 40 minutes and under. And one of these projects must have been exhibited in a qualifying festival. That means Academy Award qualifying festival, receive theatrical, broadcast, streaming, video on demand distribution, at least one of those distribution arrangements. Also, at the time you apply for the Spark Fund, you should be actively working on a documentary project, whether it is a short, mid-length, or feature, and it must have a social humanities theme. The Spark Fund is particularly interested in supporting filmmakers whose projects are aligned with the National Endowment for the Humanities, A More Perfect Union initiative, and we'll describe that to you in just one moment. Also, the filmmaker, the director would have endured financial hardship due to the pandemic. I want to emphasize that the Spark Fund is not a project grant. This is not a project grant. It is part of the American Recovery Project, and it is to support documentary filmmakers, documentary directors, in ways that they can be able to work on their projects while other things, other expenses, living expenses, for example, are being taken care of. Next slide, please. So what is NEH'S, or National Endowment for the Humanities, More Perfect Union project? America at 250, which we're coming to that anniversary of the founding, as they say, of the United States. The More Perfect Union, as described here, looks to explore, reflect on, and tell the stories of the quest for a more just, inclusive, and sustainable society throughout US history. It brings the perspective of the humanities to questions of racial justice, gender equality, the evolution of the United States landscape, and the nation's role in the world. It's to strengthen public knowledge of the principles of democracy, constitutional governance, equity and human rights, and or highlight the experiences of Indigenous people and nations, as well as other communities severely underrepresented in the media landscape, including those in US territories, as well as the history of relationships among historically disenfranchised or marginalized communities. You can find out more on the NEH.gov website. Next slide. So I have described who is eligible, who is ineligible for the Spark Fund. The Spark, if you are an applicant, enrolled in a degree granting program, college students, master's degree, PhD, you are not eligible for the Spark Fund. Also, persons under the age of 18 years, persons who are retired or on Social Security disability with no work attachment are not eligible. K through 12 teachers and administrators, and Firelight Media officers, employees, or members of the board of directors. Next slide. On this slide, we talk about who is ineligible for the project because there are other American Rescue Plan projects that are focusing on filmmakers as well. Applicants for the Spark Fund cannot be actively supported by a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities and or other American Rescue Plan projects. And these are the other two, our collaborators, our friends, other two organizations who have open applications now for SHARP projects. They include the Sundance Institute, and there's the link to their Humanities Sustainability Fellowship, and ITVS, which is also presenting a Humanities Documentary Development Fellowship. Those are the links. You can explore them. They have other requirements and criteria. And if the Spark Fund is not for you, there may be a better fit there. But if you are so fortunate to apply to more than one and receive acceptance to more than one, you can only select one of these. And our closing dates are within the same month, I believe. Next slide. So let's talk about selection criteria for the Spark Fund. Applications will be reviewed according to the following. Demonstrate that the applicant is a mid-career filmmaker with a demonstrated commitment to documentary filmmaking. The application should indicate that there was a disruption of work and livelihood caused by the pandemic. Applications will also be reviewed on the relevance and importance of humanities themes and thoughtfulness with respect to integrating humanities scholars and or scholarship into the project. We also are asking for a filmmaker statement conveying overall filmmaking mission, creative approach, and intended impact for the finished project. Again, let me remind you, the Spark Fund is not a project grant, but this is the criteria applications will be considered. So I want to talk about what are the humanities. And for some people, it's very vague. So let me just give you some of the subjects that are taken from the National Endowment for the Humanities that qualify as humanities. They include anthropology, archaeology, arts criticism or theory, arts history, comparative religion, economics, geography, history, language, law, jurisprudence, linguistics, literature, media studies, philosophy, political science, psychology, sociology. Your project may include one or more of these topics or subjects, or explore a particular subject with scholars and scholarships informing it from one or more of these subjects. You can find out more on the NEH.gov website. Next slide. So here we are at our questions. If you have questions, there's the Q&A feature on this Zoom platform that you can use. We will have Antonia Thornton read the questions out loud, or you can use the chat as well. So Antonia, who is our project coordinator for the Spark Fund, any questions in the queue?
We don't have any questions just yet.
Okay. Well, let me ask a question of everyone who's on the webinar. Have I explained everything to you that you don't have any questions at this point?
We just got one come in.
Oh, good.
So the question is, would gender and sexuality be counted as a subject under humanities?
Yes. That would be, yes, it does. Because we're thinking about, it could be sociology, it could be anthropology, cultural studies. I'm going to just, based on my background, because I have worked at a state humanities council before. And what really is good for humanities-based projects is to have the scholar, the humanities scholar, as part of your team. That could be an advisory capacity, that could be on screen, but that's usually a very key component to a humanities-based project.
Our next question is, do the themes of research need to be related to the US?
No, they do not. As long as they are humanities-based, but you have to keep in mind that it has to, what the Spark Fund is interested in is the project, A More Perfect Union. So please read that. There are some things that happen outside the United States that are still reflected here in the United States, but I encourage you to read the A More Perfect Union project page for the National Endowment for the Humanities to understand what those themes are.
Our next question is, how do you define documentary? Some of us include experimental performance and narrative elements in our doc, also hybrid doc narrative films.
Well, documentary is of course nonfiction. So adaptation would not be documentary. And I know that there is that execution of how you present a story. There are many ways of doing that, but ultimately it is a nonfiction work, filmmaking work. And the subject is nonfiction, exploring it in a nonfiction narrative.
Our next one is sort of related. Are you only considering directors working on traditional feature-length documentaries, or is work on new media documentaries also considered?
Traditional documentaries. This is for traditional documentaries. But I would like to know, how do you define new media before before that answer is carved in stone?
Our next is, how will you evaluate whether applicants have endured financial hardship during COVID?
I think it is evaluated. There is a segment of the application that will allow you to share how COVID has had an impact on completing a documentary project that you were working on. And there are many ways that can happen, because it could be you had to take in relatives who were affected by the pandemic. You had to relocate as a result of the pandemic. You lost other work as a result of the pandemic. The crew that you had in place, your team, your production team, were affected, which affected the project as well. That part of the application is narrative. So if you go to the application, and just a reminder, the application is structured in a way that there's an eligibility page. If you meet the minimum eligibility requirements, then you can complete the rest of the application. So after filling out the eligibility page, if you meet the minimum requirements, you will see the rest of the application, which has segments that allow you to type in your narrative, your answers, and that is one of them. So in the section about the impact of the pandemic, that is where you would share how the pandemic has affected your ability to complete your work, your project.
Next up is, for those who are granted these funds, will they be granted the full amount at once or on as a need basis?
At this point, I would say there's going to be close to the full amount and then a final payment, so 2 payments. But that is still to be determined, but it will be no more than 2 payments.
And then what if your project focuses on America's colonial period and how events of that time have impacted on shaping America today?
Well, as I mentioned before, the Spark Fund is not a project grant, but that would be eligible as a humanities project.
One question is there something through the NEH for my organization?
Organizations should go directly to the NEH, NEH.gov.
If I have an application pending for project support from Cal Humanities, which is funded by NEH, am I still eligible to apply?
Yes, if you have a project funded by a state humanities institution, you can apply for the Spark Fund.
If the Spark Fund is not a project grant, how should applicants navigate the selection criteria requesting info on current projects rather than a documentarian's body of work?
If you were working on a humanities themed project, then that would be the project you would describe that has been disrupted by COVID. So that project could be at any stage, and when you fill out the application, you can include how that project was disrupted because of COVID, because of, as some of the examples that I said before, loss of income, relatives who became ill or had hardships, and you had to combine households. Also, you may have been ill yourself, and that was disrupted. So, as I said, it's not a project grant, but the project described should be a project that was at some stage of development or production or pre-production that was disrupted by the COVID pandemic.
The next question is, how do you define mid-career?
If you look at and we will send you the PDF for the slideshow, but mid-career is for this fund to have completed and exhibited based on the criteria that the Spark Fund is selected. One, you've directed a feature documentary that was exhibited in a qualifying festival, has received broadcast or cable distribution, or streaming video on demand, or you directed 2 episodics, documentary episodes of 30 minutes or more that receive the same kind of distribution, or you directed 3 shorts of 40 minutes or less that receive the same distribution that I just described.
Our next question is, what if you had to work the entire pandemic as an essential worker, but was unable to continue on your project? Is this qualifiable?
Yes, that is disruption. If you had to take other kind of work to make up for lost income, and that disrupted your project, you are eligible to apply for the Spark Fund. That's an eligibility yes.
And our next one is, I signed in a bit late, so forgive me if this was covered, but what is the amount given through the Spark Fund?
The Spark Fund gives a one-time only $50,000 stipend for a period of 1 year.
And our next one is sort of on that note. You say the Spark Fund is not a project fund. Does the project have to be completed within the year of the grant?
No, that's why it's not a project fund. And let me give you as filmmakers some good news. You don't have to submit a budget. So that's why we say it's not a project grant. We know that when you apply for grants, you always have to submit the budget and a whole lot of other things. The Spark Fund application does not ask for that.
And next is, does your project need to have humanities scholar advisors in order to be competitive?
I would say it makes a stronger case for a humanities film to have the humanities scholars involved. Maybe you're not at that stage where you have those people in place, but you may have been considering them. You may have been at a research development phase where you were receiving letters of support from advisors or scholars or persons, big figures who people recognize as humanities experts. So I would say it's always good to have those people there for a humanities project, humanities film.
And next up we have, what if you have a project that was completed and about to go into distribution, and due to COVID, it was disrupted, causing a significant loss in anticipated revenue, also causing releasing of personnel?
For that, the Spark Fund is only for projects that have not been completed. So I'm sorry, a project that's about to go in distribution would not qualify for the Spark Fund. But please check out the other funds that are available from the Sundance Institution and ITVS.
And we have someone wondering where to find the list of Academy approved festivals.
We have a link. Antonia, do you have that link available?
Yeah, I can find it. I'll put it in the chat.
It's to a festival page, festival resource page. So Antonia is going to put that into the chat.
So our next question is there an income limit you could have earned for 2020?
No, there's no cap on the income, but we will take into consideration those who have had a significant loss of income or struggling. It's not, I would say it's not the criteria, but it's something to take into consideration.
We have a specific question about a project. I am doing a project on the life and times of Lewis Latimer. The goal is to look at the impact of the post-Civil War era on American industry. Blacks were major innovators. COVID-19 prevented us from going to NYC to continue research. As Black Americans, doc narrative hybrid films are the best way to engage our community with our collective history. I will work with scholars and family members, but there are also interpretive elements. Can the rule on what is documentary be re-examined to fit the times?
Okay, first of all, your documentary is nonfiction, so check. That's great and sounds like interesting, very interesting topic. We are seeing more documentaries animated. We're seeing them recreations, that's been going on for some time. So that would be considered a documentary. Usually the way those things work, you may have some talking heads between them, or the real, in your case, you wouldn't be able to do that maybe, but there's usually some space allowed for persons who are contemporary to offer context, contextualize what people are seeing. And this is not a documentary workshop that I'm giving here, but I'm just describing what is there in the documentary field that's being done and is being distributed. So yes, it's a documentary, but I would say to make the case as a documentary versus a biopic, to bring in those contemporary people who can bring the story into context.
Our next question is, are you accepting applications from Africa?
The Spark Fund is for US persons who are US citizens or have living in the United States for 3 years or more. This is a National Endowment for the Humanities requirement. So those are the requirements for applicants for the Spark Fund.
Next up is, would a project in the research development stage of a new project qualify for funding under the Spark Fund?
If you submit with a project that is in research and development, you have to make the case that it was disrupted by the pandemic. What point of research and development were you in at the time that the pandemic became, at the time the pandemic disrupted the project, stopped the project, put the project on hold? So yes, you can apply with a project that was in research and development in 2020 or whatever phase of the pandemic the project was disrupted by, but you just have to make the case for that in the Spark Fund application.
We may have already touched on this slightly, but we have a question. Would international topics / Black diaspora be appropriate?
As I mentioned before, we have the Spark Fund is interested in projects that align with the National Endowment for the Humanities, A More Perfect Union, America at 250 initiative. You should read the information on the NEH.gov website about what that is about. And everyone who registered for today's webinar will receive a copy, a PDF of the slideshow, which includes a slide about the A More Perfect Union project.
And I have, besides the basic criteria for the funds, what else would help filmmakers stand out? For instance, their body of work, etc.
I want to say, I know that, but this is a new initiative. In fact, the Spark Fund is very unique in that it is not a project grant. It is for mid-career filmmakers. And it's tied in with the American Rescue Plan. So I wish I had an answer to that, but it's going to depend, I think, solely on who's applying and what we get. And we'll have a better understanding of that because this project is so new and so unique. So I wish I had a good answer for that, but that's the best I can do for now.
So that's the final question I have thus far. If you have any further questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A in the chat.
I think I'll go to the next slide while some of you may be doing that. As I mentioned, the application is now open and it will be open through December 29th, 2021 at 3 p.m. that Eastern time. That is when the application will close. The Spark Fund is offering support to establish independent Black, Indigenous, persons of color doc filmmakers whose work on humanities themed projects was disrupted by the COVID-19 public health emergency. It is supported by the National Endowment for the Humanities. The Spark Fund is presented by Firelight Media, and that is the short URL to the landing page for the Spark Fund. And any more questions, Antonia?
We just got one question. Is experimental documentary eligible?
You have to describe what that experimental is. I mean, if it's a documentary, it's a documentary. The execution, as long as it's nonfiction, is up to you. But again, let me emphasize, this is not a project grant. The other thing that's not being asked to submit are reels or links to previous work. Unless you want to put them there, that's up to you.
We got another question. Can we view this recording at a later date as well?
Yes. And sign up for Firelight's Media's newsletter if you haven't already, so you can get up-to-date news about the Spark Funds and other opportunities offered by Firelight Media.
Another question we just got is, can you share information about the review process? Who will be reviewing the applications and who will make final decisions?
The applications will be reviewed by a committee selected, a committee comprised of humanities scholars, filmmakers, and festival type curators, programmers, film programmers. So that will comprise the makeup of the selection committee. And there will be a two-part process. One is to select finalists, and the second is to select the Spark Fund Fellows.
One of the last questions that came through is, having understood that this is for Americans, what if it's a collaboration of an African with an American citizen?
The person who applies for the Spark Fund should meet all eligibility requirements and be the director of the documentary.
Another one just came in. If reels aren't required, how do you know if the applicants meet the requirements?
There is a field where you can put your IMDb link. You can also include links to your film page in your narrative filmmaker statement, for example. That's a place to put some of your work. There is a segment where the filmmaker would put their body of work or CV of sorts. So that will be part of the application.
That was sort of the last question to come through. Another question, I think is in regards to the links that have been shared, but someone is wondering if they will be able to access the chat afterwards.
Well, that's a question I'm going to ask Felicia. Felicia, are you
Yeah, I
downloading
want
the
to
chat?
clarify what is needed in the chat, because all of these links and resources should be available on the Spark Fund page, correct?
Yes, all the links that we have shared today that will be helpful to applicants will be available in the PDF Spark Fund webinar slideshow. And they will be, yeah, they will all be included there. And the recording will be put on Firelight Media's YouTube channel. Okay, I guess we're ready for our final slide. So here are, if you have any more questions, please use our email address, sparkfund@firelightmedia.org. Just to let you know, we are reading the emails. There are human beings looking at the emails. That would be myself and Antonia. So don't worry, it's not an AI kind of thing. So if you have your questions, you can send them to us by email. We're also offering 20-minute one-on-one consultations. There is a link on Calendly.com, and that's the link there. And it's also being posted into the chat to sign up, and check the calendar often, because we will be adding dates as we go along up until the time of application, the application closes. Please note that this is the holiday season coming up, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I'm going to let you know now, we will not be on call during the holidays. Just letting you know now. But as I said, check the calendar often, and we will keep adding some times and dates so that you can have a one-on-one consultation. So I think that's it. I want to thank the team for organizing this webinar, Antonia, Patty, Felicia, our interpretation team, Patrice, Gloria, and everyone at Firelight Media. And thank you, because your questions are helping us really shape and really know what filmmakers need in terms of the Spark Fund. And as I said, check the application out and check out other great programs offered by Firelight Media for filmmakers. I think you'll find something that will really spark interest and anticipation and excitement for you there. So thank you very much for joining us, and have a great week.